Are you an indie podcast or content creator looking to reach a wider audience? Look no further. Introducing Podcastic, the ultimate podcast network designed exclusively for indie creators like you. At Podcastic, we believe in the power of unique voices and fresh perspectives. We're here to amplify your passion and creativity, connecting you with a growing community of engaged listeners who crave original content. Podcastic is more than just a platform. It's a support system built for indie podcasters, offering a range of resources to help you succeed. From tailored promotional campaigns to professional production assistance, we're here to help you shine. Our intuitive platform makes it easy for you to be seen and heard. We do all the heavy lifting for you. You just show up and create. Plus, with our advanced analytics, you'll gain valuable insights into your audience's preferences, allowing you to refine your content and grow your fan base. Ignite your passion, expand your reach, and thrive with podcasting. Visit our website at www.podcasticlife.com to get started. Podcastic, the home for indie podcasts and content creators.
But you can hear me now. Right. So we're getting in today, right? The subject of today, to carry on from last week's conversation, we're moving into how maturity affects most relationships. And the reason why, by the way, how you doing, Dr. Heather? I'm sorry.
I'm well, thank you.
Brother Dave?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
So being in the building with Dr. Miles Dixon on the wheels of steel.
Right.
Right. And so just coming into this conversation, because I'm trying to, there we go. So how maturity affects most relationships. I'm excited about this because for those of you who don't mind enjoying the follies, the object of this conversation is to talk about the good things of maturity and why they affect you to have a quality relationship. Right? So maturity most definitely is a thing needed and wanted by all. Some of us, like myself, 60, I am immature in some areas. I'll be the first to admit it. I don't have no problem admitting my shortcomings. Just celebrate me at my long comings. You know what I'm talking about? Right. So if you go, because for me, right, and I'm just sharing this because sometime when I come to this microphone, it's also a confession. There's no father here. It's just me really confessing, right? So that's another sign of my maturity. So I like the idea, and Heather, you can read it if you like, to call in with your thoughts. This relationship conversation is for mature audience only. We don't want the we're not talking about what they don't have. We talking about what we do have. So we swagging a little bit. So go ahead, Dr. Heather.
Well, we're going to kind of launch this conversation with a question. But I want to give the call-in number first. It's 810-560-0658. That's 810-560-0658. And that's important for you to express your thoughts here. And remember, this is not about debating. This is not about judging who you are, where you are. This is giving us all a benchmark. I think that's really an important perspective to have. Are you checking off your benchmarks? And even with the benchmarks, it could be a sliding scale. So you might be at 50% of it, and you know you have more work to do, as Calvin confessed in his opening statement.
Yes, I was guilty.
So I'm going to start off with framing it for us today. So we are evolving into our understanding of relationships from the perspective of maturity. Psychological and emotional maturity refers to an individual's capacity to make socially appropriate decisions that foster their own happiness as well as the well-being of others. According to Psychology Today, this state of development is closely linked to changes in the brain, predominantly occurring from late adolescence into early 30s. I hope you heard that. Characteristics of psychological maturity include the ability to maintain long-term commitments, exercise sound judgment, and express humility and gratitude. Maturity also involves accepting constructive criticism and recognizing the importance of considering others' needs. And so the question for us today is, what are the signs that you are psychologically and emotionally mature? And again, our call-in number is 810-560-0658 if you want to weigh in on the conversation. I'm going to ask my co-host here to give some feedback and thought on this question. What
Brother
you got,
Dave,
guys?
Brother Dave, you can handle it from here for a second.
Yeah, well, I like the intro, and they point out some key areas here, being able to maintain long-term commitment, make sound judgment, expressive humility. And that's the key word right there. Can one be humble? Many times people say humility as a sign of weakness, but it's really a sign of maturity because you have decided that you're not going to let external factors control your internal stability. And usually we find ourselves getting caught up in things, people, places, and things, and lose sight of who we are from the inside out. And as they said, it's a developmental process, and as Calvin presented early on, you're always on the scale of going up and going down and evaluating where you're at so you can keep moving forward. So I think it's really important to recognize, that we have to be psychologically and emotionally mature. I truly believe that, and I often say this, the prisons are filled with people who made emotional decisions, and usually that's because they lack emotional maturity. When you get to a point where you're comfortable with yourself, you don't have to be reactive because you have developed yourself to be proactive. So, and one of the things Paul said out of the Bible, he said that when I was a child, I thought as a child, reasoned as a child, acted as a child. But when I became adult, I put off childish ways. Not childish ways means that you don't still have your childlike kind of humor and excitability and energy, but those decisions that affect people and yourself in a way that is not conducive to long-term benefits.
So,
Very insightful.
So when you talk about long-term, as Brother Dave just said, right? Long-term means you're mature enough to handle the situations in years, and you hit a lump in the road, an obstacle occurs, you're 30 years in, and the obstacle hits you. Now, in this obstacle, how do you handle yourself if you're mature, right? Because immaturity might respond differently, but if you're mature, how do you handle that situation with your significant other? Here's two things I'll say, and then you guys can run with it. We'll start at Belle Isle. I'm on the bridge, and I'm talking to the woman that I love. we're 30 years in, and I just need you to change again. Now, you want me to be a movie star. You want me to be built like Jim Brown and Which Way Is Up? And I'm out of shape, right? Mm-hmm. And so we on this bridge having this conversation, and then you just have a tantrum or I have a tantrum. How do we have conversation, mature conversation, where what does it look like when we are communicating clear enough to move from point A to point B? I'll pass that over to Dr. Het.
Well, it's very interesting conversation. Clearly, it provided a few triggers in the midst of it, and so I think about that immaturity in response to that. Am I reacting the same way I did when I was 16, as I am, and I'm 56 or 57? You know, if I'm still reacting the same way I did as a teenager, I need more work. I got to put in more work on my maturity scale. And so we have in front of us in the studio around 13 benchmarks of maturity. And so I would venture to say that as we go through this show today, to really look at the scale on where you fall. So it's not just if you have emotional regulation and stability, but to what degree. 50, 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. And, you know, and if we're honest with ourselves, are we able to rate that scale in a way that allows us room for growth? And to take into consideration that how I thought even 25 years ago is different from how I thought even, you know, when I was 16, right? 16, 30, 36, 56, 66. Am I thinking the same way that I did then as I am thinking now? And this is an opportunity to grow and to self-check, right? And to not put the illusion or the facade over understanding your best self right now. And
okay.
So, yeah. So I'll start with the emotional regulation and stability. Mature adults can process, manage, and understand their emotions without letting them dictate actions. This includes staying calm under pressure, avoiding temper tantrums, and managing anger without causing damage to self or others. So I would say that I'm about 75%. I still have to. It takes me a minute to recognize that I'm reacting instead of responding. And so I might respond in an emotional way depending on what that thing is that I'm facing or question or circumstance. I might be reactive. Might be reactive, and I might, you know, my response might be to yell. My response may be to, you know, that's my first reaction. And then I can respond better having been quiet and still and listen to what was really said versus what my feelings were hearing. And so I think that's a difference. I recognize when it's happening, and I can stop myself and say, take a pause, take a breath. Did you really hear what was said? And then I can respond to what was said, not with what I felt was said. And so, you know, I still have more work to do in that area.
Okay, so you're on the bridge, and so this is where you have to do some work in that area. How do you, Dave?
I don't know. I might move her from that bridge first.
Especially if you carry knives, you got them on.
I was thinking, ooh, man, we may have to go down a little further. Yeah, you know, as Dr. Heather said, sometime when you hear a thought or a presentation from someone, your thoughts get to going, and then you get triggered emotionally, and then next thing you know, either something coming out verbally or you're going to do something physically, and then you didn't take into account the long-term outcome. And that's where maturity comes into play, because you learn now to not let your thoughts and emotions dictate the actions that's not going to be conducive for the long road. So I think that when we see things such as, temper tantrum, people don't be able to manage their anger, we see at that point that they haven't reached the pinnacle of really being emotionally in control. They have lost the ability to regulate. And as I said earlier, it's important that we learn to be emotionally stable most of the time. We're human, so there is going to be a reality that we're going to react at some point. But hopefully we don't find ourselves in the position that we see so many that react in a way that it becomes, damaging to the relationship, not even to the extreme of killing and anything of this nature.
Right.
But more so, it could affect where y'all go home and y'all don't talk the rest of the day. You start letting your image of this person change. You had this loving, caring image, maybe like Valentine's Day, y'all on the bridge, and then all of a sudden somebody say something, and the thing that started off that's supposed to be beautiful turns into a disaster. So it's so important to learn how to regulate those emotions, and don't let them allow you to lose sight of the big picture.
You most definitely. You have to have the maturity that I'd say that is most definitely needed is your experience. See, your experience from how you've dealt with these situations, because that's the way life does. It'll give you the same scenario and the same situation until you conquer it. Right? And maybe you can't have a mature conversation because you're not even mature and truthful to yourself. Lies affect us. Lies affect our spirits. How we treat people affect us. Mm-hmm. How we do things, right? The whole, what's this all about, right? How do you have this interference into your process of your relationship? Because of the two, when we decide to go back and forth, right? Now what is happening is I'm coming to the realization so much faster of my part in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And that's a sign of humility, a different level of strength, because what I find with most people, especially as I do couple counseling, everybody got to be right.
Yeah.
Well, see, right, and you hear people say, my truth. Right is about you. Understanding is about us. And when people recognize that it's more important to get understanding, because maybe there's some pieces you're missing in this conversation.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean.
That's
the pieces.
powerful.
Right. The pieces that you're missing.
All ingredients count.
All ingredients count there. Right? The pieces that you're missing is what makes it a mature conversation. So, and it can make it an immature conversation. But like I said, I'm getting to the place of my accountability so much faster because I want no interruptions in my spirit. So I have to constantly work at that because I come, as, a former person who was a womanizer, used manipulation in ways and did those things, right? Getting those things out of my process has been and can be difficult. But you have to admit, when you fall into the comfort of repeating them, you're the one that's going to be the most inflicted. The person across from you is only getting this much of you because you're not honest with yourself spiritually and emotionally. So it's hard for you to, as soon as a person starts talking to you, and I don't care if it's dating or whatever, because you have this freedom within your spirit, your discernment is so much more higher that I can see not just your immaturity, because my maturity is at a certain level, but relationship-wise, I can see that you're not ready for what my vision for a committed relationship really is. And that is the phenomena when we're talking about maturity, how I can celebrate in my maturity because I'm able to come quicker, but it falls into the statistics that men mature at 40 while women maximize their maturity at 30, right? And so Miles' old ass, right, is beyond. It's beyond maturity. That's why I call him Mufasa, right?
Alrighty then.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But to be clear, right, that how Miles thinks is different, and because people are not at where he sees things, that's where we can become sort of emotional or step aside, and that's what I've done, right? Because there's a certain thing I don't have, and so when I don't have it in my maturity, I kind of said, this is where I need to, shut up. Let me shut up or listen. And so what I've been doing, even in that, it has allowed me to listen a lot more, even though I might fall asleep on you, Dave.
It's all good. It's all good. But that's an essential word. All through the Bible saying, he that have ears to hear, let him hear. And it's so essential to learn to listen. And I mean actively listen.
Yes.
I can hear the car going on outside, but if I'm not actively engaged in giving you the attention, then I'm missing something. So that listening component is so important. And whether we realize it or not, once you get the art of listening down, you seem to become a little more accountable and responsible.
Yeah, because you heard them and you took action.
Right.
So what you got? Oh, you got a bunch of stuff on the back. What you got?
So you just addressed actually number 2, responsibility and accountability.
Man,
Owning actions, mistakes, and their consequences rather than blaming others, making excuses, or playing the victim.
I got a question.
This is huge in relationships.
It really is. My
That's
question.
huge
I got a
in
question.
relationships. Oh, I just want to
Why
say
is it-
a shout out to Rich. Hey, Rich. Good afternoon to you too.
Right? Why is that so hard for women?
To listen?
Which part?
Accountability.
Accountability, though.
Which,
Boy, it's like it's a disease.
Okay, so listen.
It's like it's a disease.
Okay, so let's be
Alrighty
clear.
then.
Let's be clear. We're talking
Accountability.
about owning. I want you to break down what you're really
Okay.
talking about.
All right.
Owning actions, owning mistakes, owning the consequences, rather than blaming others or making excuses or playing the victim. So when you say women do this, which element of that are you speaking to? So be a little more specific.
Avoidance. They didn't put that down there.
Okay.
It causes them to start shaking. They it's like
Right in the road.
right. it do something to them, right? You mean to tell me I got to be accountable? Like they go through a whole plague, storm,
Okay.
being in the wilderness, and then they come all the way back and still don't say, "I'm sorry."
Okay. So
Shoot up your house, bust your window,
Shoot.
call the police on you.
okay. And so what was the for
It wasn't
every
me.
action
We back on the
for
bridge.
every action there is
We
a
back on the
reaction. So it's not coming out of nowhere and nothing happened to
true.
trigger
Okay.
a particular response.
Oh, so that is what it is. You see that?
Yeah, there is a I mean that's law.
No, okay.
That's
so
law.
it was a trigger that made you avoid accountability?
No.
Okay,
It was a
come with it.
trigger that
Okay.
caused a reaction.
Okay.
Not a response, a reaction, which was emotional.
Okay.
So what was said or done that would cause a woman to react in
So-
such a way?
For me,
We'll
me,
never know.
for
That
me-
is untrue.
here, that's what I was about to
That
say.
is untrue. What
For
is
me,
the trigger?
The trigger is the truth. Y'all will lie with a 12-gauge shotgun up to your head. The trigger pulled back. You will ride that lie till it ain't no room.
Okay. So
Accountability. Y'all suffer from, I'm just saying. I'm not
No,
saying
that's-
you because you have improved just like I've improved. That's just on the personal tip. We have improved.
we're talking about in relationships.
In relationships,
right?
accountability
It is
from the women.
It is a challenge. So
It is a there you go.
It is both
There's the word.
sides. It is both sides.
It's
so
a challenge.
I'm saying that
Okay, you want to include us again?
no,
We
you
just
can't
said
talk.
women.
You can't talk about how she's reacting without saying what she's reacting to.
Okay, but we're talking maturity. So whatever we're reacting to, if it's a conversation, if you've been caught, if you did something you wasn't supposed to do, if you did, all we're asking for is we kind of know you
No, but
did
what
this.
was the cause for her reaction?
She could have just been a normal human. But what causes a person to go out and steal? Themselves.
No,
she could have
no.
What are you saying?
What, for some people, what causes a person to steal is a need.
Okay.
It is a basic need that has been denied or.
So I got a question.
Okay.
So what you were saying is basically, what is the need for someone to be immature?
Yeah. Give it.
What is the need for someone to be?
Yeah.
Well.
Because
I'm
accountability is maturity. So that's a great question, Dr. Miles.
Thank you. I just got my doctrines from White Castle.
Yeah. It's a great assessment. And now you're on pause, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a sudden silence.
For me? Oh, no.
Okay.
No. So what I'm trying to understand is, and I want us to understand is, she is not reacting to nothing.
Okay. I'm
And
not
so-
saying
okay,
what you're
and so
doing is
whatever that
defending.
is-
Did you
no,
miss the...
I'm not.
Okay, what I say? I said me and her are in this conversation. We still
Okay.
on the bridge. That's what Dave said. Go
Okay,
back to the
okay,
bridge.
go back to
so
the
I'm
bridge.
still talking to her. And she's not being accountable.
Because she asked you to do more physical work to buff up your body. Is that what you're saying? That was
Okay,
the conversation.
sure. We'll go with that.
You guys are walking, and she said, it would be great if your body looked like, who'd you call him? Somebody brown?
Yeah. Whoever.
It would be
Jim
it
Brown.
would be great if your body looked like that.
And I'll
And
be
you
like-
reacted and said what? Well, your body don't look like that either. Your body look
That
like
is not
XYZ.
what I said.
No, I'm saying
You done took the conversation and ran. We're talking.
Okay, so that was the
It's
conversation.
just the thing
That
is
was
for
the
her
conversation.
to take accountability.
What
You're
I'm
saying
saying
she
was,
got to have a reason, and I'm saying she doesn't have a reason. She does this out of her nature.
okay, so I'm saying to you, you said that you were walking across the bridge having a conversation. Part of the conversation was her comment on your body and your
Okay.
body type. And
Okay.
she said what she liked, which was contrary to what you own.
Okay,
But I understand that too.
that's an argument, though.
Yeah, that's an
I'm not having an argument. I'm having a discussion. I just need you to be accountable.
What is
for
she being
whatever part.
accountable for?
So we
Feeling
can
how
just-
she feels?
We can go with that. So she has to be accountable for feeling how she feels. Let's go with that, right?
okay.
So then I say to her,
What do you say to her?
where does that come from? What do you mean by that? Please explain. What is the thought? And so she,
Wait.
Let me give you another scenario.
Yeah,
So again, here's the scenario. So here's a situation.
I like Bella.
Here's a situation I experienced. So I would go out with this young lady, and every time I look around, another lady was making comments to her. It got so comfortable. She rub her back. She kiss on her. When I say kiss on, on the jaw or
Yeah.
something. She would open up and go, "What you got on?" Blah blah blah. So, okay, we cool with it, right? But it was annoying her. She was complaining about it to me when we get in the car. Never said nothing to the woman, right? But she's saying, huh?
But she said something to you.
She's saying it to me initially. So one day, we at the same place, the woman shift gears. So the woman said, "Let me tell you something." So I said, "Okay." So I lean over, look like she's trying to kiss me. I move back, right? This became a sexual escapade after that, right? How people looking at me, she trying to do, and I'm thinking, wait a minute now, this been going on for weeks with you, but it's different. Now, I should be held accountable. I explained what happened, but if I should be held accountable, then you should be held accountable to the same scenario because it started with you. But that got dismissed because it looked different.
Yeah.
Well, that's not being accountable. You see what I'm saying? Because the scenario in this particular case was done once to me, multiple times to you. But when I bring it to your attention that, okay, we figure out this person got some issues, you're not holding the end of the heaviness on you.
Yeah, no.
You're not being accountable. You're putting that weight on me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not being accountable.
You're
to
at fault.
Did that make sense?
You're going right
Dr.
into the
Heather?
valley.
Right.
That's what I mean.
Okay, so she's
You-
she's basically blaming others.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And
Okay.
avoidance.
And And
Yeah, I'm avoiding, as he was just sharing, I'm avoiding actually taking care of what I was supposed to take care of with her, and I'm transferring it and attaching it to you. But you were not accountable in the relationship with the other person. To me, that's avoidance and unaccountability. Now, what my scenario to you is, I get that it's very difficult when it gets to this subject. I'm not just saying women are not the only ones. I'm saying for women, this is a thing.
It is.
Of unaccountability, being the one to be accountable. And so, of course, you have to put up your dukes. But my point is that in the maturity, we both have symptoms of being, maybe that helps you, we both can be unaccountable.
Right.
Oftentimes, men are let me do it that way. Oftentimes, men are just horribly unaccountable. You can't count on them. They don't show up. They're not consistent.
So where was
I disagree with that.
So,
but okay.
where was her triggers?
Her triggers was
her triggers when she was getting finagled and fondled?
well, she didn't really have none.
Right,
She was telling Dave.
So the trigger
She was
there.
sending another message.
Yeah, the trigger was there, and it was, it wasn't okay, but initially it was okay because she's trying to figure out this information coming at her. But then, as it went on, it became an annoyance. Okay, so that technically accountability would have said, "Look, I like you. You're a cool person, but I ain't cut like that, or don't do that, or I like my space. Don't touch me." Right? There'd have been a wrap. But it just happened to happen to me. Now you left the person who started this problem out of the picture. You passed the buck on me on one-time event, but the level of being accountable would have been that this woman was inappropriate.
She's inappropriate.
And nobody is at blame. We both understand we need to address this, but it didn't play out like that.
So what you're sharing is that she should have set the boundary from the beginning. If she had to set the boundary
Right.
with the lady, whether it was her or you, the boundary would have been clear, and clearly she would have been outside the scope of
Because we
being
can't
appropriate.
predict what people gonna do, right?
Right.
But we do have control over it, and instead that would probably never got to that point as she took accountability, not because it's her being a woman, but the idea that the behavior is inappropriate. That's where we take accountability of inappropriate behavior.
Notice how accountability, the time we just spent talking about accountability, and how difficult, right, of the things that we deal with in relationships. But you have to be mature to understand the difference of accountability, right?
But we also had to unpack it.
Right?
Right.
That's
We
fine.
also had to unpack
So-
it. So, and we're still talking about reaction versus response.
Yeah.
The proper response would have been to set a boundary that
Yeah.
would have covered the situation, the present situation,
that's from-
and prevention for
Right. That's from the word go.
for the after, right? And so,
Yeah, the word
the
go.
responsibility clearly was on her for not setting the appropriate boundary. I just want to send Terrence some love out there. He's okay, Terrence. He said, "Big fella, you about to be on the couch tonight."
No, not me. That might be somebody else. That's not happening with Cal, right? But
But Dr. Heather was just giving him reassurance.
Yeah.
that you were not doing it.
yeah, no question. Right, but the empathy and consideration, the ability to move beyond oneself to consider the feelings, perspectives, and needs of others.
Huge,
Huge.
huge.
It really is huge.
In relationship.
That takes real maturity
Right.
and understanding. It really does.
And using that same
Because it's
scenario,
hard.
if you saw somebody was being inappropriate, thinking about the other person, you would have set the boundaries so the other, not even the woman ever did that to me.
Right.
Just the fact that in a world we live in today with the alphabets, LGBT and what have you, it still could look like a past.
Yeah.
And you didn't address the past. So we're not addressing the person, we're addressing the issue.
Right.
It just happened to be the people involved in it.
And that's the consideration.
That's the consideration.
Right.
Because
But also, looking at the needs of others. So there are two other people in that scenario with her. So clearly, the person that is making the advances needs to have some boundaries set. So there's some clarity on, why I'm going to whop you over the head if you continue in this, on this path. And it puts the man, in terms of her response, it puts her and him on notice that I know this is not an appropriate behavior, and I'm not going to allow it for you, with you, or on myself.
That's right.
So, and to respond, understand, I'm saying respond, not react. There is a proper response.
So I would say
that the response is where the maturity is. The reaction is where the immaturity is. Because she could have reacted and smacked the lady, right?
That's right.
She could have reacted and smacked you.
I don't think that's what they want.
And I'm not, but I'm just making a point about maturity, because you see some sisters. We had a friend that had a particular reaction when she saw some activity that was questionable. She reacted instead of responding. So when you're reacting, it is in the immaturity. When you are responding, it is in your maturity.
And that's what Calvin pointed out about our experience, that our experience allows us to be able to make proactive decisions, not reactive decisions.
Absolutely.
So again, right there, when you get to delayed gratification, the ability to forego immediate short-term pleasures in favor of long-term, more valuable goals, right?
We need work in this spaces, right?
Yeah.
In relationships, I mean, this is really so.
Yeah.
It is such a tender space, that whole delayed gratification, because a lot of women who date a lot of them say that part of their challenge is the man wants to sleep with them right away.
Yeah, we gotta have that.
Okay, now I would go that.
Right.
That would be a immature response.
That's the reaction.
That's a reaction. It's
That's
cool.
a reaction.
We all get it, because the girl might look at him and say, "I want sleeping right away," but we gotta delay that gratification. and that starts right out the gate of what you say.
Right.
If you go in there and say, "Girl, you're looking good in that dress. That thing's so tight, a molecule can't slip through there." That might not come off too cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it's giving the indication you want to get with the person versus say, "You're really looking lovely today."
Right. And so today, you really looking lovely today leads to
let's get it.
Let's get it. They
that's not always true. And that's not always true, because I want you to find me attractive does not mean that I don't want to delay the gratification of it.
Mom, they quicker than Clint Eastwood. In the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I totally agree.
It made me think about Chris Rock and Boomerang. Yeah, we've been talking to each other for about 10 minutes. I done holler at you long enough. When we gonna go and get in that back room?
Thank you, Dr. Ratanji.
That's crazy.
Thank you, Dr. Ratanji. She's out there listening. All right, so the next one.
See, she agreed.
She agreed with delayed gratification.
No, she agreed with that. Let's go.
She had accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah, some accountability.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so independence and self-sufficiency. Managing one's own life, including finances, health, and personal issues, without relying heavily on others for support.
Woo! Ooh.
Now, this is where, in couples, where there are some lines, some very fine lines, in whose role is what in terms of financial support, and even, and for a lot of more independently, financially stable women.
Ooh, break that down.
Yeah.
That, I'm really curious what you got to say on that tip. And you said something really simple. She making a bank. She making $100K. Enlighten me on this part about who gonna do what.
So it really depends on the maturity level of him and her. First of all, for a man, which we know this is an issue, a man, and for some, not every man, but for some men, to have a woman who makes more money than he does.
Get it.
And so for her to understand,
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And for her to understand what are clear roles for the person that you want to date, mate, what does that look like? And so to have some realistic understanding of what that looks like. And so that does take a level of maturity. Is it how important? But if you never had the conversation together, that's going to set you both up for some discussion, further discussion, and potentially for some drama.
Give me a scenario of that.
Okay, I mean, I was going with what you said. So,
Oh no, I mean, you know what I'm saying here is
she make 100, he makes 30.
right. So that usually have went into a level of they've been in a relationship for a minute. But I'm thinking about the woman that makes 100,000. Since you said the brother make 30,000, so okay, I'm cool with the game. And so they meet, and so we have these ideals of roles. So the guy's supposed to pick her up, take her out, wine and dine her, and they both know how much each other making. Maybe they work together. Okay. And so 2 weeks into the game, he said, you know, I got the slightest of change. Look here, can you pay today? Well, pay. Why am I gonna pay?
Oh, no,
you see?
that's not.
So, you know, and he said, he turns back. He said, "Well, you make 100,000." She said, "Well, you the man. You supposed to do X, Y, Z." So, where's these clarities at about in this new world of who do what? What does the role mean? Because most of the time, what I found, even in marriages that have been on the skip, they never really define those roles.
That's a beautiful segue. It's a beautiful segue, right into what you're asking. So the scenario is 30. Dave, you worth 30 today.
Ooh, man.
Right?
I'm cool with it. I'll
Right.
make it work.
I'm just saying, you worth 30, but with the knowledge that you have as a man and a leader, that 30 is quadruple
Right.
that 100.
That's what I was going to say.
See, this is where we get off at in relationships of not understanding the priority of men and women when they come to the table in a relationship and plan and execute together. See, we're coming to the table for, as Heather said earlier, there's a need. So I just need this from you. I place the limitation on the relationship from the word go. Because when we place the financial thing on the table that you make more, that means we never had dreams, goals, aspirations to be together, come together, and understand that 100 is 130 now, and how we execute from that 100. Because I might have all the skill. I know how to file the taxes. I know how to make your credit pop. I know how to go get cars for less. I know how to talk. I come to the table with a completely different skill set. If you pick up one, and I share this with women all the time, if you meet a man, just a man that you like, check his library. If he can't have a conversation about books, you in the wrong relationship looking for a certain outcome from something that's worse than the 30 and 100.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, but this is the phenomenon that we place this pressure and say, you know, man, you got to have this and have this and have this to get a woman.
I would be the sandwich king. She would learn that I'm the sandwich king. We going out for picnics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not going out no fine dining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, I think put me in that position. I'm still gonna come out on top.
I'm coming out on top.
All the time.
So
Everything.
again, but we're talking about the maturity,
That
right?
is mature.
So where you find the maturity is that they're able to have that conversation.
Because, you know why?
Before sex, and I think
Hold on, before what?
Before sex.
Okay.
Terrence also contributed. He said the problem, the most people have sex, then they become a relationship after the excitement. You find out like Houdini.
Well, yeah, everybody.
Besides having sex, we have nothing in common.
Everybody test drive because it's not the person that they really are
Everybody
interested.
does not test drive.
Okay, 70% of the people test drive, right? Because
80.
Okay.
80%.
just because the mindset is from pain. Do I necessarily really want to be in this relationship? Let's start here. Okay, so the sex is good. Now I want to get to know you. All of that is backwards.
Yes.
We get that part, but when you really like someone, doctor that makes 100.
Right.
Right, you like this person, who he is, what he represents,
Fact.
how he walks, how he carry himself, the knowledge that he has.
I like to get to know him better.
Oh, she drip. It's happening. What you mean?
I like to
Come
get
on,
to
you
know
be
you
talking
better.
from. Yeah, that's fine, but that occurs within the direction of him.
With maturity.
Yes, but he has to be.
So maturity. I mean, can I say something? Because maturity is, to me, is very subjective because it's dealing with the type of person you're dealing with, which you don't never know you're dealing with until it comes up.
Right. But I wanted to point out, that's an excellent point. What I want to point out, let's just go with this definition here. First, we start on independent, self-sufficient. So manage one's own life, including finances, health, personal issues, without relying heavily on others for support.
Right.
That's the person who begins to mature and develop themselves. So they're already preparing. It's like CPR. They ain't going to try to do CPR when they're in the middle of it. They prepared themselves for it. Now, when they meet someone, both parties, let's make them equal now. They both making bank. So now when they meet someone, because they have already developed themselves to be independent and self-sufficient, now when they come together, they become interdependent. We, as Calvin said, we going to unite this 130 and we going to make it work. And we going to look at each other's skill set. So Calvin can do this, she can do that. And we rely on, as we said, we're going to start this off, the positive aspects of the individuals as we work together to bring about the harmony. What the problem is that most of the time, because people come in with this mindset of independence, I am woman, I am man, hear me roar, I'm self-sufficient, I don't need you. You already had the parachute, as Calvin said months ago, before you came in the door.
Before you
didn't go both, and I'm saying both parties, because a lot of guys are just as protective as they
they're jumping economy.
Prenup.
They're jumping economy.
I'm asking you a question. Do you is something wrong with prenup? I mean, if two different people bring two different things to the table, they both build separately.
You know why I don't think nothing wrong with prenup, because with the topic we're on, because people like maturity and the game changed, the rules to the game changed. So I don't care who got the bank. If you got that kind of money rolling, you need to protect yourself, because not because you don't love them, don't trust them, it's just the rules of the game changed.
The system.
Bill Bellamy said this, in the beginning, everybody's in love, everybody happy, everybody doing everything. You can fall asleep, say, oh, that's all right, baby. You fell asleep, I like the way you snore. We like all that. But as the game moves on, right, then everything starts to change. So that's the same in the finances. You know, you ain't seen Oprah give up her money to Stedman, have you?
No, well, they ain't separating.
Yeah.
That's a whole distraction. So the question be to the 130 situation. My friend, he make way less than his wife. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna put no number to it because he is watching. Right. He just said it's a good topic. Right. So he was the type, he said, listen, babe, no matter what, you spend 20 on yourself every year. Mm-hmm. He said, I double mine every year. Mm-hmm. And he said, so really I make more money than you. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And so the flex of everything is when somebody can say, this is what I do. Mm-hmm. And never look at it with another, like the Cal said, the man, like I might make less than my lady. However, she comes to me for guidance on different stuff, right? So if it was somebody else, she had to pay for, right? So the value of her money shouldn't even be at talk because it began to decrease as time goes. Right. So what I've learned is the maturity part is the immature part is throwing up what each other makes. You know what I mean?
And holding it against the other.
And holding it against that's the immaturity. Mm-hmm. However, it's happened more than it doesn't.
Well, because money does change people. And the more money that they're visible to and see, sometimes people start cultivating a plan that is beneficial to them. We've seen it. We understand that.
I'm going to say it's not the money, it's the value that's attached to the person.
Okay.
The values that are attached to the person may change based on their circumstances.
I totally agree, but what happened to the maturity of it? So,
I mean, it's still a maturity issue.
But
It's still
if-
a maturity
but
issue.
if they-
Because if you're mature, you're gonna have these conversations
Right.
so that
Yeah.
you're growing in one direction.
yeah.
You know, when we stop talking about it, when it stopped mattering and we start reacting again, not responding, when we start reacting, that's where we're lacking the maturity.
Sure.
So we can react, and now it's a big issue because we haven't been cultivating that the whole time. That hasn't been part of the plan.
But how do people cultivate something that they unaware about in the beginning anyway? No matter, you know where Cal misses on the floor. So no matter how much we think we cultivating because we're talking about it, somebody's still gonna take the immature route at the end of the day when they do have the ups on somebody.
And that's crazy.
Because they go back.
But it's true.
They go back to
They
that.
go back to self. See, again,
Yeah.
each thing that we're saying tells us what this topic's about. If we're mature, first and foremost, as much as I'm like any other man, and I think any other woman, from my view, we want those physical attributes and gratification. But when you go in a relationship, you should go in already having these conversations, and you should edit it and regulate those thoughts as you go along in the relationship. Because what you were, as Dr. Heather said, at 16, you so in love, right? 26, you all into love. And then at 36, you out of love. Something wrong with that picture. Maybe because y'all wasn't regulating, editing, and doing what you need to do to stay on point with those topics.
And trying to improve.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about forever. Getting into a relationship, understanding that the levels for which you both are on, let's work together to get to forever. That process takes work. And if you are in a situation where that's not being put in a relationship, yes, the survival is going to return you to, Miles got, so I started sizing it up. Right, the divorce rate shows you women found more for divorce and everything. It's centered around happy and emotional feelings. It goes back to what I was saying in the process for men and women. Who's training them to be in relationships? Soap operas, magazines, sports,
Social media.
Social media
And
is
if-
destroying relationships
All that.
at an alarming rate.
So if you can go there with women in soap operas, you can also go there with men in pornography.
And
Yes, I agree.
I totally agree.
I agree.
So,
but
but-
then we don't. When we indulge, some of us, I don't know who I was getting ready to tell on.
You probably about to say something about me. Go ahead.
Right.
I looked at my hand like, dang.
well, all righty then.
But in that, no, I
Go
agree.
ahead, make your
It's
point.
not just. That's why I was headed there when I said sports betting. There are other things and areas that we do cause harm to our relationship.
Yeah.
Strip clubs, things like that. Asking for hall passes. Right, a hall pass is real scandalous work.
Yeah, that's
Right? It's just scandalous.
Okay, that one went over my head. So I don't think I want to know what that is. But keep going.
Yeah.
no, Miss Heather, you don't want nobody
But
else.
this was number 6, adaptability and flexibility. Here's a big word. The
Right.
capacity to accept change. And that's where people struggle because they want to stay in status quo, or this the way it used to be. And you ain't the way you used to be when you were 16, 26, what have you.
Man.
So learning to be flexible, we used to say in the Army, stay calm, stay flexible, because all the unpredictables we can't regulate.
I mean, all of these things, all of them seem like they all say the same thing, right? Me, truthfully, looking at it, right? Not just reading, but when I read the words, I'm like, this all like the same thing. Because especially when you look at the main one I read, identity, security, that tells a whole lot about a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that range 1 through 10 equals 11 to me. When I read, I'm like,
Understood.
oh, that's all who you are.
Yeah.
So, but breaking it down helps people define themselves. So when you have broad terms like that, this is what Dave is always talking about too, about the understanding, right? If you have just accountability, for example, that's a huge, heavy word. And depending on the action that is demonstrating accountability, it is the whole small pieces. It's all the small pieces that if they're not defined, it's very difficult to find yourself in it. Like the whole conversation Calvin was having was managing your own life.
Yeah.
Right? Being responsible
For you.
enough
Yeah.
to manage your own life, right?
Yeah.
And not hold somebody else as a victim or yourself as a victim if somebody is not doing certain things for you. But if you're looking at that broadly, then you'll never see where you're acting like a victim.
Right.
And you can address whether that is 25% of the time, 50% of the time, 75% of the time, 100% of the time. So this is designed to help our listeners and people who are really interested in building a relationship to self-check.
Because it's work.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I agree with you.
Lean on me.
All of it is maturity, but this is breaking it down so that we can be really clear about itemizing what that behavior looks like.
so coming from a person who's been sick for a while mentally, as far as awareness and not want to bend, right? But always look at it as being broken, so I have excuses. Would that weaponize someone to break down parts and then still say, I am who I am?
Yeah.
That's an excuse.
Okay.
That is the excuse.
That goes back to the unaccountability to want to change.
There you go.
You're not being accountable. If you cannot shift, change, mature into a direction that's beneficial for you and that person, like that's.
But again, what I say is this: anybody will find a mouse or rat will find the smallest hole.
Yeah.
To make the biggest impact, right?
Sure.
So when you brought up porn, right? A lady would say, "Yeah, he have a porn problem," but she started it with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, but the accountability part is not added on. The fact when they started in the relationship, it started.
Y'all both was watching it.
Yeah. I mean, going ham,
Right.
trading shares and everything, doing work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how do the most mature person try to bring the one who's not mature, the most immature one, in a relationship, but one is heavier? One situation is heavier than the other.
Leadership, you have to lead.
Okay.
And that's the only way it gets mirrored.
Okay.
Right? You have to, there are certain things that they have to do and you have to do because it's a strength of yours. It's not a strength of theirs. And if I'm in this relationship and I'm willing to work at it and get better in this relationship, I would then begin to mirror and look at that skill set to improve. A lot of times what happens is that mentally, right, like you were talking about and like we've all said, you'll turn back to self instead of advancing in the learning, the appreciation, the gaining, and the maturity because it's uncomfortable.
Wow. So would it be good to have a male and a female therapist?
At times, you know, the Gottman group, they do that. Sometimes they work directly as couples with couples, because that's what they do. And then they pull off individuals, because usually when you see porn, gambling, sports, if it's more and it's taking you out of your social norm, your ability to interact on a normal basis, it's an addiction. And usually addictions center around something there's a void. And that void need to be, as you said with the intro, you said that we started together. Something happened that y'all wasn't doing it together no more. And my mother used to say this to me, because like Calvin, I was a womanizer and didn't think of myself that way, but you grow up and you realize
I knew I was.
And what I learned was, my mother said, when you got the right woman, one woman is enough.
Yes. And that's true.
She brings, and he brings, see, this ain't a one-way street. That's why I really don't do the genders, but I know you got to do that. Both parties supposed to bring something to the table that keeps enhancing the relationship, because again, senior citizens, they get 60, 80, or whatever the case may be, and they can't perform. If y'all built a unity and a relationship that's bonded, then the performance changed. Here's, and I'm gonna close on this. Here's what what is Christopher Reed and his wife said. They said, "Do y'all have sex?" You know Christopher Reed, Superman, right? The irony that he would end up in a wheelchair. She said, "We don't have sex the way you see sex, but we have sex." They have an intimate relationship that shifted for the change that came about.
Right.
See, and that way now she said, "Well, why is she looking at porn? Maybe she don't need porn because he's satisfied her in a whole nother level."
I mean, I see that. I definitely see that. And I look at how sometimes the person that was a womanizer, I think people who was womanizers see people being held accountable faster than our counterparts. You know what I mean? We really do, because we know what we did. It's like a criminal. You know, when you see a crook, you know, especially a thug, and they get out of jail and they come back to society, they're like, oh, we need to get out of here.
Right.
Oh boy, over there ain't right, because he already seen it. He's seen it himself before. So he be like, oh, hey, y'all, come on, let's roll. While everybody else be like, man, no, wow, man, we having a ball. Okay, pop, oh, yeah, let's go. No, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think men who have been womanizers see the whole accountability thing differently and quicker.
Experience.
Yeah.
And these labels we have to be careful about too, because I always used to say when I was a kid, things have changed now. I used to say to myself, you know, women would make the pass the buck to say he a womanizer, but usually men wasn't getting with men; they were getting with another woman. So that was an approval. Back to accountability. So how do you approve these behaviors? So we all. Womanizer, manizer, however you want to say it, we're all doing something of that nature until we reach a level of maturity to understand those behaviors are not conducive to long-term, lasting, healthy relationships.
Absolutely. And so I just want to acknowledge Terrence as he's listening out there. He said, so how long should the accountability phase last? He was referencing Steve Harvey, or he said, or I'm out. And so, good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and so this is where healthy communication comes from. This is where healthy maturity comes from. This is from, you know, each party understanding what it is that what they need, and who they want to share this experience with. Because, and recognizing, that's why I thought it was important as we look at each of these characteristics, that you look at it and you can rate yourself. Where are you on this scale? Are you at 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%? If you know where you are, you know you have work in that area. So you're not so quick to say, oh, no, I'm perfect. You already know. You're not so quick to jump into that. And you may also offer somebody else some grace who also has some growing to do in there.
Yes.
And so that's what we're talking about, healthy and mature relationships, being able to give a sense of grace for where somebody is, but have the conversation about what you need so that they can together move it forward. Those are healthy, mature relationships. When you stop communicating, you start making assumptions. You start having expectations without communication. This is where we break down.
Yes.
And so, you know, and it's just important to recognize that even when you go, if you're dating, are you dating on purpose? Are you even dating on purpose? Or are you just trying to fill that basic need, which is for companionship or the moment? Are you just living moment to moment? Are you trying to live a lifetime, or are you just trying to live a moment?
They want the moments. Dave, tell them where you can reach me.
Everybody doesn't just want moments.
I hope not. We need that.
We need family. That's why we're having this conversation.
That's right.
Most definitely.
You can reach me at drome7@yahoo.com, FMAM for me and About Men on Facebook. Thanks.
Dr. Heather?
You can reach me at Your Inspired with a D, yourinspiredjourney.com, or you can reach me by phone at 313-759-7855.
So, Dave, there's these things called the biosocial perspective, the abstract attachment theory, all of these things that goes into relationships that leads to long-term relationships, short-term, gay, straight, doesn't matter, right? These things are happening when it comes around family. Family is diversified. I said families are gangs. Gangs have simple formats and who's this and who's that to make up a center. The government is a gang. We understand that there are several. They are even the red and the blue, right? And so we have these narratives and relationships and things like that. Well, in the 80s, it was 19, I shared this the other day, in 1970, there was 57% black marriages. Well, that means marriages was getting ready to tank even more, because in the 60s it was a little higher, and we started buying into this whole apart thing. Right. And so now from there, we started doing all these other things. Trauma begat trauma, reading trauma, relationship trauma. But the one thing that we've recognized in successful relationships, literally, every time I've talked to older couples, people who were married for a long time, the families that I see still together, there is an equal amount of maturity at the table of the two. And even when he or she gets frustrated, they go back to the formula that has extended the years. Do yourself a favor and try to build a relationship instead of having or pursuing or chasing. Build one with a foundation of God, love, and understanding, and maybe, you just maybe might get to forever. God bless you. My name is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. You can reach me at calvintmann.com. Encourage me, I'm young. Peace.